In this getting started video, we'll deploy the Feast operator and a very simple feature store to Kubernetes. In videos that follow, we'll dive into some more advanced operator features and configs. At the time of this video, the current Feast release is 0.49. To get started, we will deploy our operator using a single command. This command can be found in the operator README file. A link to that will be in the video description. Let's watch our operator pod start. The resulting container running in this pod will be running our FeatureStore controller, which will watch for future FeatureStore deployments in the cluster and reconcile them according to the configuration. Okay, it's running. It is worth noting that we used the stable branch. The stable branch in the Feast repo should always house the latest Feast release. If you wanted to deploy a specific version, you could change that to a version brancher tag. Okay, let's look at the logs just to be sure everything looks good. It does. Okay, our operator is up and running. So now let us create a new namespace for our feature store. Here locally, I've cloned the Feast repo and I'm also in this stable branch. And we are going to deploy this very simplistic feature store custom resource. The only required field in the spec is Feast project. There are many other optional fields which we will cover in later videos. Let's deploy that guy. And that is it. We've now got our first feature store running in a Kubernetes cluster. But now let's dive a little deeper into our deployment. First, I wanted to look at the samples directory that we deployed this simplistic feature store from. Many of the other samples that you see here are really meant as references and should not and probably cannot be deployed as is. They require customization from you to deploy properly. So just be aware that many of these may throw errors if you deploy them as is. DB persistence, for example, you need a backend that's running a database accessible somewhere with database credentials. A Git token is another one, right? If you're using a Git repo to pull your Feast project. So just know that. Let's look at our running feature store. We see it there. Another way to do this is with the short name get feast in Kubernetes. Okay, let's see what version we're running in the status. We're running 0.49. Good. Let's look at our running pod. And our running pod has a single container running. So let's look at that container now. Let's look at the logs. We see that it's the online container that's running. What that is the online feature server that's running, which is equivalent to running Feast serve from the Feast CLI. And this is running the feature server within a container in Kubernetes. And it is accessible actually with the created Kubernetes service that the operator also creates. Let's look at the configuration of our feature server. That can be done by execing into the pod and looking at the FeatureStore.yaml file. And this FeatureStore.yaml file is very standard, has a lot of default settings that you would expect if you were to run a Feast init and create a new Feast project. Again though, all of this is configurable. We can get as complex as we need to, and we'll cover some of that in later videos.